Lieutenant Naira Voss stared in horror at her human counterpart through the transparent barrier of her environmental suit. Commander James Harrison stood there, completely exposed to the ship's atmosphere, and he was smiling. "You can't be serious," she said, her voice distorted by her breathing apparatus. "The environmental controls must be malfunctioning. The oxygen levels are at 21%. James leaned against the sleek metal wall of the Starweaver's bridge, his dark eyes twinkling with amusement. "Those readings are correct, Lieutenant. We humans not only tolerate oxygen, we need it to survive." Naira's silver-scaled skin shimmed with confusion under the ship's ambient lighting. As a Zelaxian, she had spent her entire life avoiding oxygen-rich environments. Her people considered oxygen one of the most corrosive and dangerous elements in the universe. Yet here was this human, breathing it as casually as she breathed nitrogen-rich air. "But that's impossible," she protested, checking her atmospheric readings again. "Oxygen is highly reactive. It destroys organic matter. How can your species possibly?" "Evolution is full of surprises," James replied, pushing off from the wall and approaching the main viewport. The vast expanse of space stretched before them, stars twinkling like scattered diamonds. "Our cells actually harness oxygen's reactive properties. We use it to generate energy. Without it, we'd die within minutes." The revelation sent Naira's mind spinning. She had been assigned, as the Zelaxian scientific liaison, to this joint exploration mission just 3 days ago. The human ship had arrived at the edge of Zelaxian space, proposing a cooperative venture to explore newly discovered ruins on a distant world. But no one had mentioned this bizarre biological quirk. "Is that why your species achieved faster-than-light travel so quickly?" she asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial shock. "The energy efficiency of oxygen metabolism." James nodded, his dark hair catching the blue glow of the ship's quantum drive. "It's one factor. Oxygen metabolism gives us a lot of energy to work with. Makes us stronger, faster, more enduring than you might expect for our size." A warning light flashed on Naira's suit display. Her breathing was too rapid, excitement causing her to consume her air supply faster than usual. She forced herself to calm down, taking measured breaths of her carefully filtered atmosphere. "Your whole ship," she gestured at their surroundings, "it's designed for an oxygen environment. When my people sent me here, they must not have realized. We adapted 1/4 of the ship for nitrogen-breathing species," James assured her. "Your quarters and workstation are completely safe. But yes, most of the Starweaver maintains Earth-standard atmosphere." Naira found herself studying the human commander with new interest. His species had mastered the very element her people feared most, turned it into a source of strength. What other surprises might these humans hold? The ship's AI chimed softly, announcing their approach to the ruins they had been sent to investigate. James moved to the control console, his movements quick and precise. Naira noticed how efficiently he operated the controls. No excess motion wasted. Was that the oxygen at work too? "We'll be reaching Kepler 186f in about 6 hours, James announced. "The ruins are in a subterranean complex, so we'll need to." He was interrupted by a sudden surge of energy that rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console as the quantum drive fluctuated wildly. "Unknown energy signature detected," the ship's AI reported calmly. "Source: the ruins on Kepler 186. Pattern matches no known technology." Naira rushed to her own station, environmental suit wearing as she moved. The readings were like nothing she'd ever seen before. "These energy patterns, they're reacting to our presence somehow. Almost as if they were waiting for us," James finished her thought, their eyes meeting across the bridge. In that moment, despite their biological differences, despite the barrier of her environmental suit, Naira felt a connection with the oxygen-breathing human. They were about to discover something extraordinary. Together. The Starweaver continued its approach to Kepler 186f, carrying its unusual crew toward a mystery that would change both their species forever. And it all began with a simple question about breathing oxygen. The descent into Kepler-186's atmosphere was anything but smooth. Commander James Harrison's hands flew across the controls as the Starweaver bucked against unexpected turbulence. Beside him, Lieutenant Naira Voss monitored the energy readings that continued to pulse from the mysterious ruins below. "The energy signature is intensifying," she reported, her voice steady despite the ship's violent shaking. "It's almost as if it's reaching out to us specifically." James nodded, his enhanced oxygen metabolism allowing him to maintain perfect focus despite the challenging descent. "The pattern isn't random. There's definitely intelligence behind it." The planet's surface came into view, a vast expanse of rusty red desert, dotted with crystalline formations that sparkled under the light of Kepler-186's distant sun. The ruin's entrance was visible as a massive dark opening in the side of a mountain, its architecture unlike anything either of them had seen before. Setting down half a kilometer from the entrance, James announced, engaging the landing thrusters, "Don't want to risk getting too close until we understand what's causing those energy pulses." As the ship settled onto the planet's surface, Naira double-checked her environmental suit's seals. The planet's atmosphere was oxygen-rich, like the human ship, making it deadly to her Zalaxian physiology without protection. "I've analyzed the structural patterns," she said, reviewing her datapad. "The ruins appear to be at least 50,000 years old, but the energy signature suggests active technology inside." James gathered his exploration gear, including several portable scanning devices. 50,000 years, that predates both human and Zalaxian space travel by a considerable margin. Whatever we find in there could rewrite both our histories. They exited the ship through the airlock, Naira in her fully sealed environmental suit and James wearing only a light tactical uniform. The difference in their biological needs was never more apparent than now, as they walked side by side across the alien landscape. The entrance to the ruins loomed before them, ancient glyphs carved into the stone around its frame. Naira approached them cautiously, her scanner whirring as it recorded the symbols. "These markings," she breathed, her voice filled with wonder. "Some of them match ancient Zalaxian script, but others. Commander, look at this section." James stepped closer, his eyes widening as he recognized familiar patterns. "That's impossible. These symbols, they're similar to proto-human writing found in Earth's oldest archaeological sites." Before either of them could process this revelation, the glyphs began to glow with an inner light. The energy signature they detected from orbit pulsed stronger, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. "Welcome, children of the two worlds," a voice echoed from within the ruins, speaking simultaneously in ancient Zalaxian and proto-human languages. "You have finally returned." Naira's hand instinctively found James's arm, her grip tight even through her environmental suit. "How is this possible? These ruins couldn't have known our languages. Unless they were left here specifically for us to find." James finished, his tactical training warring with his curiosity. "The question is, by whom?" They ventured deeper into the ruins, their way lit by strips of luminescent material that activated at their approach. The architecture was a strange blend of organic and geometric forms, as if designed to appeal to both human and Zalaxian aesthetics. "These corridors," Naira observed, her scientific mind racing to make sense of their surroundings. "The atmospheric composition changes from section to section. Some areas are nitrogen-rich, others oxygen-rich, and some are perfectly balanced for both our species." James's hand rested on his sidearm, years of experience telling him that discoveries this significant rarely came without risk. "Almost as if this place was designed as a meeting ground between our peoples. But that would mean that our species have met before," Naira finished, her silver scales shimming with excitement beneath her suit. "Long before either of us achieved spaceflight." They reached what appeared to be a central chamber, its walls covered in detailed murals depicting scenes that made both of them stop in their tracks. The images showed humans and Zalaxians working together, fighting together against a shadowy threat that seemed to lurk between the stars themselves. "By all the void stars," Naira whispered, her scanner frantically recording everything. "Our peoples weren't just aware of each other. We were allies." James approached a central pedestal where a holographic interface flickered to life. "The question is, what were we fighting against? And why did we forget?" The chamber's lighting suddenly shifted, and new images appeared above the pedestal, detailed genetic sequences that made Naira gasp in shock. "These are human and Zalaxian DNA patterns," she explained, her voice trembling with the magnitude of their discovery. "But they've been modified. Commander, according to this data, both our species were engineered." "Engineered for what?" James asked, though part of him already suspected the answer. Before Naira could respond, a massive tremor shook the ruins. Warning lights flashed on both their scanners as new energy signatures appeared in orbit around the planet. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace," James reported, checking his tactical display. "Unknown configuration, but their energy readings, they're similar to those shadowy figures in the murals." Naira's hands flew over her scanner, trying to capture as much data as possible. "The ruins' defenses are activating. Whatever those ships are, this place was designed to protect against them." "Then we better figure out how to use those defenses," James said grimly, "because I have a feeling we're about to meet the enemy our ancestors fought against." As if in response to his words, the central pedestal projected a new message. "The Oxygen Warriors and the Void Seekers must unite once more. The Hunters have returned." James and Naira exchanged looks, understanding passing between them. Their discovery of these ruins was no accident. It was the beginning of something much bigger than either of them had imagined. The ancient chamber shook violently as explosions rocked the surface above. James Harrison pulled Naira behind a massive crystalline column as energy bolts sizzled through the air where they had been standing moments before. "The Hunters' ships are attempting to breach the ruins' outer defenses," Naira reported, checking her tactical display through her environmental suit's heads-up display. "Their weapons, they're like nothing I've ever seen. They're not just destroying matter, they're unmaking it at a quantum level." James peered around the column, his oxygen-enhanced reflexes allowing him to track the chaotic energy patterns filling the chamber. "The ruins' defensive systems are responding, but they're not at full power. There has to be a way to activate them properly." The central pedestal continued to project genetic sequences, but now they were changing, showing what appeared to be a merger between human and Zalaxian DNA. Naira studied the patterns, her scientific training helping her decode their significance. "Commander," she said, her voice filled with wonder despite their dire situation, "these sequences, they're showing a biological adaptation protocol. The ancients found a way to merge our species' strengths." Another explosion rocked the chamber, closer this time. The ruins' eye spoke again, its message urgent. "The breathing bond must be restored. Only together can you reach your full potential." "The breathing bond?" James asked, helping Naira steady herself as another tremor shook the ground. "It's incredible," she breathed, her silver scales flickering with excitement beneath her suit. "According to these readings, the ancients engineered a way for our species to share biological advantages. Humans' oxygen processing capability, Zalaxians' enhanced sensory perception. They found a way to combine them." James's tactical mind quickly grasped the implications. "That's why humans evolved to breathe oxygen. We were engineered to be living weapons against these hunters, while your people were designed to detect and track them." A massive blast knocked loose fragments of the chamber ceiling. The ruins' eye spoke again, more urgently. "Time grows short. The hunters seek to prevent the reunion. The breathing bond must be initiated." Naira's hands flew over the holographic controls, analyzing the procedure. The ruins contained the necessary equipment to perform the adaptation. But James, She turned to face him, her blue eyes intense behind her mask. The process would be permanent. We'd be forever changed, linked at a genetic level. James met her gaze steadily. In the short time they'd worked together, he'd come to admire not just her brilliant mind, but her courage and determination. The thought of being permanently connected to her didn't frighten him. It felt right. "Well," he said with a slight smile, "I've always wondered what it would be like to have silver scales." A hunter probe breached the chamber's outer defenses, its dark energy tendrils seeking them out. James fired his plasma rifle, the weapon's energy barely affecting the otherworldly technology. Naira's scanners shrieked warnings as more probes began to penetrate the ruins' weakening shields. "The adaptation chamber is through there." Naira pointed to a doorway pulsing with soft light. "But the process takes time. We'd be vulnerable." "Then we better hope these ancient defenses wake up fully once we're bonded," James replied, laying down covering fire as they made their way toward the chamber. "Because I have a feeling these hunters aren't going to wait politely." The adaptation chamber was a marvel of bioengineering, its walls lined with crystalline structures that hummed with power. As they stepped inside, the air itself seemed to come alive with possibility. "The process requires direct atmospheric exposure," Naira said, her hands trembling slightly as she read the instructions. "I'll have to remove my suit." James understood her fear. She'd spent her entire life avoiding oxygen-rich environments. "Hey," he said softly, taking her hand. "I won't let anything happen to you. We do this together." The chamber sealed behind them as hunter probes hammered at its exterior. Naira began removing her environmental suit, her silver-scaled skin exposed to open air for the first time. She gasped, expecting pain, but the chamber had already begun its work, creating a transitional atmosphere. "The genetic merger is starting," she said, her voice filled with wonder as she watched her own DNA being rewritten on the chamber's displays. "It's beautiful." James felt it too, a tingling sensation as his cells began to change, incorporating Xylaxian genetic strengths while maintaining his oxygen processing capabilities. The chamber filled with a soft golden light as their bodies transformed. Through the chamber's walls, they could hear the hunters' forces growing closer, their otherworldly weapons trying to breach the ancient defenses. But something else was happening too. The ruins themselves were responding to their transformation, ancient machinery humming to life with renewed power. "The defenses," Naira gasped, her newly enhanced senses detecting the change. "They're accepting our combined genetic signature as authentication. The full defensive grid is activating." James could feel it too, his consciousness somehow linked with Naira's through their shared transformation. He could sense the ruins' weapons through her enhanced perception, while she experienced the rush of oxygen-powered strength through his genetic contribution. As the adaptation completed, they stood together in the chamber, forever changed. Naira's silver scales now had a subtle iridescent quality that shifted in the light, while James's skin had taken on a slight metallic sheen. But the real changes were deeper. They could sense each other's thoughts, share each other's strengths. "Ready to show these hunters why the ancients chose our species as guardians?" James asked, feeling more alive than ever as their shared oxygen metabolism powered his cells. Naira smiled, no longer needing an environmental suit as her body now processed oxygen as efficiently as his. "Together," she said, taking his hand, "just like our ancestors intended." The chamber door opened, and they stepped out to face their enemy. No longer just human and Xylaxian, but something new, something that combined the best of both species. The hunters were about to learn why oxygen-breathing warriors and void-sensing guardians had been such a formidable combination in the ancient past. The ruin's central chamber had transformed into a war zone. Energy blasts from hunter probes collided with the ancient defense systems, creating a spectacular light show of destructive force. But James and Naira moved through the chaos with supernatural grace, their newly merged abilities making them nearly untouchable. "The ruins database is unlocking," Naira called out, her enhanced senses interpreting data streams that now filled the air around them. "I can see it all now." Why we evolved the way we did. Why oxygen was so crucial to the plan. James deflected a hunter probe with a burst of plasma energy, his movements faster and more precise than ever thanks to their shared abilities. Tell me what you see. The hunters, Naira explained, her silver-scaled hands dancing over holographic controls. They're not just aliens, they're interdimensional parasites. They feed on conscious thought, draining entire civilizations of awareness and leaving empty shells behind. The chamber's AI projected a historical record, showing countless worlds that had fallen to the hunters. Empty planets orbiting distant stars, their populations reduced to mindless automatons serving the parasitic invaders. Our ancestors discovered them early, Naira continued, her voice filled with awe at the revelation. They realized that conventional weapons couldn't harm beings that existed partially outside our dimension. They needed something else, something that could affect both physical and non-physical forms. Oxygen, James finished, understanding dawning in his enhanced mind. Its reactive properties. Exactly, Naira confirmed. Oxygen doesn't just power human cells. It's toxic to the hunter's interdimensional form. That's why they're so desperate to stop us from reuniting. Humans were engineered to be living weapons, your bodies producing the very thing that could harm them. A massive hunter probe smashed through the chamber's outer defenses, its dark energy tentacles reaching for them. But as James and Naira stood their ground, something remarkable happened. The oxygen processing capabilities they now shared created a visible aura around them, causing the hunter's energy form to recoil. And the Xylaxians? James asked, advancing toward the wounded probe. Why were your people engineered to be so sensitive to oxygen? Naira's eyes widened as another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Because we needed to be able to detect the slightest trace of their presence. Our oxygen sensitivity evolved as a defense mechanism, a warning system. When combined with human oxygen processing, we become the perfect hunter-hunting team, James finished, feeling their shared power surge through his enhanced body. The chamber's eye spoke again, its voice stronger now that they had unlocked more of its secrets. The breathing bond was designed to create warriors capable of fighting on both dimensional planes. Apart, your species were vulnerable. Together, you are unstoppable. More hunter probes breached the ruins' outer defenses, but now James and Naira understood their true purpose. Moving in perfect synchronization, they activated the ancient weapon systems. Golden energy burst from their merged forms, creating a field that forced the hunters fully into physical space where they could be fought. The genetic engineering wasn't just about making us stronger, Naira realized, accessing more of the unlocked data. It was about creating perfect counterparts. Everything that makes humans unique. Your endurance, your adaptability, even your emotional intensity, was designed to complement Xylaxian precision and sensory awareness, James added, feeling the truth of it in their shared consciousness. We were literally made for each other. A massive tremor shook the ruins as the hunter mothership positioned itself directly above them. The chamber's displays showed hundreds more ships dropping out of hyperspace, forming a blockade around the planet. They're trying to prevent this knowledge from spreading, Naira said, her enhanced senses detecting the hunter's movements. If other humans and Xylaxians learn the truth, if more of us undergo the breathing bond, then their invasion fails before it begins, James finished. We need to get this information back to both our governments. But first, he gestured at the army of hunter probes now surrounding them. We need to show them exactly what the breathing bond can do. The ruins AI presented them with one final revelation, a weapons system designed specifically for bonded pairs. As James and Naira interfaced with the ancient technology, they felt their merged consciousness expand. The ruins themselves began to transform, ancient machinery awakening to their combined genetic signature. The entire complex, Naira breathed in wonder. It's not just a research facility or a library. It's a weapon, powered by our merged abilities. James could feel it too. The vast network of energy conduits running through the ruins, all designed to channel the power of their oxygen processing capabilities. "The perfect trap," he said with grim satisfaction. The hunters thought they were preventing our reunion. But they just walked right into the Ancients' final defense system. Naira finished, their shared thoughts moving faster than speech. As the hunter forces closed in around them, James and Naira stood at the heart of the ruins, their merged forms glowing with power. The knowledge of why they had evolved as they did, why their species had developed such seemingly contradictory traits, gave them strength. They weren't accidents of evolution or random cosmic neighbors. They were engineered to be the galaxy's perfect defense system, ready to show these dimensional parasites why oxygen-breathing warriors are their worst nightmare. James asked, feeling their shared power building to unprecedented levels. Naira's silver scales shimmed with energy as she smiled. "Together," she said, their merged consciousness singing with purpose, just like we were always meant to be. The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of both their species hung in the balance. But now they understood their true purpose, not just as allies, but as evolutionary partners in the greatest defense system the galaxy had ever known. The ancient ruins thrummed with power as James and Naira activated the facility's final defense systems. Their merged consciousness expanded through the complex, feeling every energy conduit and weapon array as if they were extensions of their own bodies. Above them, the hunter fleet darkened the sky, their interdimensional ships casting strange shadows on the planet's surface. "Energy levels at maximum," Naira reported, her silver scales pulsing with golden light as their shared oxygen metabolism powered the ruined systems. "The weapon is ready, but James," she turned to face him, their merged thoughts sharing her concern. "Using this much power, it could tear a hole between dimensions." James nodded, feeling the tremendous energies building around them. "Then we better make sure it tears open in the right direction." His enhanced senses, borrowed from Naira's Zelaxian genetics, could detect the hunters' growing fear. They knew what the ruins contained, what the breathing bond made possible. The first wave of hunter probes breached the ruins' outer defenses, their dark energy tentacles seeking to disrupt the power buildup. But James and Naira were ready. Moving in perfect synchronization, they channeled their merged abilities through the ancient weapons. Streams of golden energy erupted from the ruins' crystalline towers, forcing the hunter probes into physical form. The parasitic entities screamed in frequencies that existed between dimensions as oxygen-rich energy burned through their otherworldly bodies. "Multiple hunter capital ships entering the atmosphere," Naira announced, her enhanced perception tracking their movements. "They're trying to destroy the ruins before we can fully power the main weapon." James interfaced with the defensive grid, his human adaptability allowing him to quickly master the ancient systems. "Not if we have anything to say about it. Ready to show them why our ancestors chose oxygen as their weakness." Together, they activated the ruins' shield matrix. The air itself seemed to crystallize around them, forming layers of oxygen-enriched energy barriers. Hunter weapons fire splashed harmlessly against the defenses, unable to penetrate the very atmosphere that humans had evolved to breathe. "The main weapon is charging," Naira reported, her hands dancing over holographic controls. 80%, 90%. A massive tremor shook the ruins as a hunter dreadnought positioned itself directly overhead. "They're preparing to fire their primary weapon." "Let them come," James said with grim confidence. "They don't understand what we've become, what we were always meant to be." The hunter dreadnought's weapon reached full power, dark energy swirling around its massive form. But at that exact moment, James and Naira activated the ruins' primary system. The structure's crystalline towers aligned, channeling the power of their merged biology into a single devastating beam. Golden light erupted from the ruins, cutting through the hunter fleet like a sword through darkness. Where it touched their ships, the interdimensional parasites were forced fully into physical space, their bodies unable to resist the oxygen-rich energy that humans had evolved to harness. "It's working," Naira exclaimed, her silver scales shimmering with triumph. "Their dimensional anchors are failing. They can't maintain their form in our space." But the hunters had one final card to play. The remaining ships concentrated their fire on a single point in space, attempting to tear open a portal to their home dimension. If they succeeded, they could bring through reinforcements that would overwhelm even the ancient defenses. "They're trying to escape," Naira said, her enhanced senses detecting the dimensional distortion. "If they report back to their kind about the breathing bond, about what we've discovered here, then we end this now," James finished, their merged minds arriving at the same solution. The weapon isn't just for destroying them. It's for sealing their dimension off from ours. Together, they poured every ounce of their combined power into the ruins' systems. The golden energy beam intensified, its oxygen-rich payload reaching across dimensions. The hunter portal collapsed in on itself, the parasitic entities screaming in frequencies that shook reality itself as they were cut off from their home dimension. When the light faded, the sky above was clear. The hunter fleet had been destroyed or forced back to their own dimension, sealed away by the very weapon they had tried to prevent from being activated. James and Naira stood in the aftermath, their merged consciousness still singing with shared power and purpose. The ruins around them had changed, transformed by the enormous energies they had channeled. But more importantly, they had changed, evolved into something their ancestors had always intended. "We need to share this with both our governments," Naira said, running her hand along a wall that now pulsed with living energy. "Other humans and Zalaxians need to know the truth about our shared history, about what we can become together." James nodded, feeling the rightness of it through their bond. "The hunters will return eventually. They'll find a way. When they do, they'll face not just us, but an entire civilization of bonded pairs." The ruins' eye spoke one final time, its message now clear in both their minds. The cycle is complete. The children of two worlds have reunited, stronger than ever before. The breathing bond will spread, and the galaxy will remember why humans were given the gift of oxygen, why Zalaxians were blessed with the power to sense beyond dimensions. As they prepared to return to their ship, to carry their discovery back to their peoples, James and Naira paused in the ruins' entrance, the same place where, not so long ago, she had been shocked by his ability to breathe oxygen. "You know," James said with a smile, "I never properly thanked you for being so concerned about my breathing when we first met." Naira laughed, the sound carrying all the joy of their shared consciousness. "Well, how was I supposed to know that humans were engineered to be living weapons? Though I have to admit," she took a deep breath of the oxygen-rich air that she could now process as efficiently as any human, "I'm starting to understand the appeal." They emerged into the sunlight, their merged forms casting a single shadow on the ancient stones. Above them, the sky was clear of hunter ships, but filled with possibility. Their peoples would never again fear oxygen or dimensional parasites. Together, they had rediscovered not just their shared history, but their shared destiny. The Starweaver waited where they had left it, ready to carry them. And their world-changing discovery, home. As they walked toward their ship, breathing the same air, sharing the same thoughts, they knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to remember why humans and Zalaxians had evolved as they did, and why breathing oxygen was never just about survival. It was about becoming something greater together.